Hi there, welcome to the Cotswold Explorer. I'm Robin Shupborough, and today you're in my kitchen. Now, every year just before Christmas, we've made a small cookery program, usually with the help of the great Alexis Thompson, who of the Dancing Trousers Cookery School, who's become something of a TV star recently, and she's a bit busy this year, so I'm going to do this on my own. It is extraordinary the kind of confidence she's given me simply by teaching me how to cook one or two things. Now, last year we did pigs in blankets. It's been extremely popular. This year, rather more simple. But what I've discovered is that one of our main supermarket chains has just done some research and discovered that the most popular nibble to have with your drinks over party time, hence the suitability for Christmas, is the cheese straw. It's a humble thing, but apparently by miles the most popular thing to have to eat with your drink. So that's what we're going to make. We're going to make some cheese straws. You could probably remember that when you buy cheese straws in a supermarket, it's always just a touch disappointing. Always much nicer to make it yourself. You're going to have to take my word for it. Of course, Ross will have a go at tasting them later, and with a bit of luck, he'll agree with me. First thing we must do, turn on the oven, gas mask 6, 200 degrees centigrade. We'll do that first. Right, what you need is 150 grams each of lard and butter, cold from the fridge. So here we go. Some lard and some butter. 150 grams is about that much. And what we're going to do, because this is going to be making our own pastry, is we're going to shred the butter. It makes it easier to blend in with the flour. And we're going to use perhaps the simplest of all kitchen equipment, which is this wonderful grater, the grating block. Another piece of research recently done, you can tell I've been reading too many websites, is how few people actually use all of this. The shredder bits are these oval little blades here, and they're perfect for shredding things like cold butter. So we'll just do that, and as you can see, it comes out in little shreds, and I won't make you watch it all. Right, now we need the same with the lard. Now you don't have to use lard. Obviously, if some people, vegetarians for example, would really much rather not, but you just use butter for the whole thing instead. But lard makes the pastry lighter, so it's quite nice to use if you can. We're going to keep that paper to grease the pan in a minute or two. And again, just shred this until it's in this form. The next thing we need is 450 grams of plain flour. I've measured it out, and we need to add it to this fat. Now I'm just going to put it through a sieve. I don't think there's any real need for this, but it always makes me think that I won't have any lumps in it. Like that. And then we just knead gently the flour and fat together until you have a thing that is around about the texture of rough breadcrumbs. The thing is, don't use too much pressure to squash the fat in here. Because we've shredded it, it should blend in reasonably well. So be fairly gentle with it and just go on doing that until such time as it has the texture of breadcrumbs. And again, Ross no doubt will fade away while I finish this. There we go. It's taken about 2.5, 3 minutes, just gently to work the fat into the flour. Now it has the texture of breadcrumbs. Now, the next thing is to add some flavour. Now, the thing is, we need roughly 150 grams of Parmesan. Now, this is a 200 gram wedge, which is the sort of thing you buy from a supermarket. By the time you've removed the rind, that's pretty much exactly the right amount. And what we use on this occasion, using again this this nice brick, is the grating wall, which is this thing with very frightening looking little holes. Apparently, according to the research, nobody ever uses this because they're worried about catching their knuckles on it. I can't say I blame them. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to grate pretty much the whole of this wedge of Parmesan into the flour here. It makes a really nice, fine, grated cheese. Right, now that's the full wedge of cheese grated. We're going to set some of it aside because we want some to sprinkle on the top of the cheese straws at the end. Let me just get rid of that. So I'm going to put a little bit in here to play with later. And all the rest goes in here. And again, we'll just use our fingers to blend it in. Now, a little bit of nutmeg. Now, nutmeg is much best when grated fresh. So you get a whole nutmeg, looking like a bit like that. You can need a little small grater, fine grater like that one, and just grate a bit of nutmeg in. That should do the job. It's a very nice flavour and goes extremely well. Now the next thing is some mustard powder. Now this stuff is being used as a seasoning. You're not expecting it to taste very strongly of mustard, but putting mustard in there brings out the flavour of all the other things. I just need a small teaspoon. You might recognise these. These come out of a Christmas cracker. Very useful things they are. I need a quarter of a teaspoon, so I've got, half a teaspoon, so I've got 2/4 here of mustard powder. And just sprinkle it in. So it's not very much, but it makes a great difference. There we go. Now we get that all married together. There's a wonderful smell of Parmesan coming off this. You know that it's going to taste wonderful when it's cooked. Right. Now that's it. Now we're going to add a tiny bit of water just to make it bind together. Iced water is best, which I have conveniently in the fridge. Now it's going to be very little, probably just a couple of tablespoonfuls, but we'll see how it goes. And it immediately starts to hold together. Going to need a bit more than that. Don't want to put too much water in, but on the other hand, we need it to hold together. Right, now we're going to wrap that in cling film and we're going to pop it in the fridge for half an hour while Ross and I go and have a cup of coffee. Right. There we go. And in the fridge for half an hour. We'll see you in a minute or two. Right, half an hour's gone by. I'm going to look in the fridge. Here we go. A nice lump of pastry. Just unwrap it. I'd spread a bit of flour on this board because it helps it avoid sticking. Put a little bit on the roller. And we need to roll it out to about 5 mils, so roughly half a centimetre thick. Now obviously I'm not going to get that all done at once, so what we'll do is roll out part of it to the right temperature and then cut, right thickness rather, and then cut a square out of it so that we can make our fingers. It's a firm pastry. It's going to be crisp Well, I hope it is anyway. One of my favourite things is to cut a rectangle out of here. Obviously we'll use all that, but now we just cut it into strips. Now, we want to just grease our tray just a tiny bit. I'm going to use the paper of the lard just to wipe a little bit of grease onto the tray, like that. And then we will lift these and simply lay them on the tray. I'm just going to break an egg into a bowl so that we can beat an egg and then just paint them with a bit of beaten egg. It'll make them go golden, which is nice. You can, of course, do this on the sheet of pastry before you cut it up, but I sort of like this business of just doing it individually. It seems rather neat. It's about the right width for the brush. There you are. Now I just sprinkle a little bit of this Parmesan, which you remember we kept back, over the top of them. Now obviously we're going to use all of this, but for the purposes of showing you, I'm just going to pop that lot in the oven. It'll be about 15 minutes. You'll remember we preheated the oven to about 200 degrees centigrade, which is a gas mark 6. That's where it's going to go, in the middle of the oven. And in 15 minutes time, you will have these wonderful, delicious, crispy cheese straws. There we go. Right, our cheese straws have been in the oven for just over 15 minutes, about 16 minutes. We'll just have a look at them and see what they look like. There we go. Look at that. Amazing. Well, I think they look rather nice. Now, what we want to do, they're very fragile at the moment, so what we want to do is try and get them onto the rack without breaking them. I'm going to use a little pair of tweezers, and I think the way to do that is just to shift them loose and then move them onto the rack. And this is where they need to sit just long enough to cool down and firm up, after which they'll be at their very best. Now obviously you may not find you can eat them hot straight off the thing like this. You may have to make lots of batches and so forth. Oops, that was clumsy. And they'll taste just as wonderful when they're cold. But at their very best is when they've just had time to firm up and cool down a little. So here we go. They're out of the oven. They've been in there for about 20 minutes. Just watch until they go this nice golden colour. If you really want to know whether they're cooked, you just break one and you'll make sure that the pastry in the middle is cooked. They're wonderful, flaky, delicious things. Of course, you're only going to have to take my word for it, except that I'm going to ask Ross to taste one, and then he can let you know whether it's delicious. They're still warm, but I think they're edible, just. So how's that? Good. That's what I like to hear. Right, well, I hope you've enjoyed that. They're really easy, and they are so much more delicious than those ones you buy from the supermarket. If the camera's waving around a bit, it's because Ross is eating his cheese straw in the background. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll keep you posted on all kinds of other things as well. See you next year. Bye-bye.